My name is Doug Schrage. I'm the fire chief here for the Anchorage Fire Department. We're here to share some really exciting news for our community. And the good news is that in Anchorage, our cardiac arrest survival rate has improved over previous years to 57%, to actually higher than 57%. That means that somebody, a resident, a visitor in Anchorage who experiences a sudden cardiac arrest out of the hospital has a better than 57% chance of surviving the event and leaving the hospital with good neurological outcomes. This is something we've worked very hard at in the Anchorage Fire Department and something that we're very proud of, and we feel demonstrates the value that we're providing to our community. These outcomes are the result of our work in the Anchorage Fire Department and in the community, which you'll hear more about in a few moments. The reason that the fire department is so well positioned to achieve these results is because the fire department is a good model for providing emergency medical services in our community, because we have fire stations that are distributed throughout the city, and we have firefighters deployed on trucks and engines and ambulances that are ready to respond to all parts of the community in a short amount of time. And so our emergency medical mission is a very good fit with our firefighting and rescue mission. I'm joined here today by Dr. Michael Levy, who is the Anchorage Fire Department's medical director, who will tell you a little bit more about the scope of this problem.
Thank you, Chief. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. It's sort of interesting to talk about the good news about sudden cardiac death, but there is good news about that. If you look at across the country, United States and worldwide, sudden cardiac death is one of the leading causes of death in adults. And it is very interesting that it is in fact in many cases reversible. People who suffer sudden cardiac death are in fact dead. But with proper care in the proper community, with the proper chain of survival, in fact many people can be resuscitated and afterwards lead normal lives. Anchorage and the citizens of Anchorage are in a very favorable situation where, compared to national averages, they have a much higher chance of surviving sudden cardiac death than many other places in the United States. We're in the highest tier of finding people in cardiac arrest and converting them back to living, functioning human beings. As the Chief mentioned, that is our current rate of success in this is a percentage, is 57% of people we encounter who are in cardiac arrest caused by a condition called ventricular fibrillation, which is that rhythm that PEDs can treat. Those people found and received bystander CPR have this very high success rate for surviving cardiac arrest in our system. So percentages are one thing, but more important than that, honestly, is what does that mean in terms of lives saved? 34 people in Anchorage, Alaska, who had suffered death are in fact alive now and functioning in the community. And of those 34, 33 of them had very good neurologic outcomes. So that's pretty fantastic. One important point that we need to stress throughout this is it takes a community to save a life. It takes a community to save a life. This is not one person's heroic activity that leads to it. We call this the chain of survival. I want to just emphasize the chain of survival, and then I'll close. Chain of survival is a term that's used locally, it's used nationally, it's used internationally. And it refers to the fact that when a person suffers sudden cardiac death, they have a time-critical, life-threatening emergency that must be treated within a very short period of time, and it requires a coordinated effort at many levels for success. The first thing is recognition by citizens. So someone has to recognize that a person seems to have suffered an event, which turns out to be cardiac arrest. They then need to act and notify 911. And I'd also point out at this point in time, there's some banners behind us that refer to a crowdsourcing approach to this as well, where people can be near an event that comes into our dispatch and can be notified, and they can act, they can then respond to the scene. I think Chief Schrage will address this further later. The chain of survival starts with a citizenry that recognizes cardiac arrest, activates 911, starts CPR, and if at all possible, accesses an AED. Those calls go to our 911 center. We refer to 911 call takers as dispatchers, but in fact they're telecommunicators. And our telecommunicators are among the best in the nation at recognizing cardiac arrest and then helping people at the side of the patient start CPR. We call this telecommunicator CPR. Our dispatch is specifically keyed to identify cardiac arrest in our community, such that when people call, and it's not the person who's suffering the condition themselves calling, the so-called second-party call, our dispatchers very quickly interrogate that person to see whether or not there's a chance of a cardiac arrest. If after asking two key questions, the outcome of that suggests cardiac arrest, our dispatchers tell the person to start CPR and tell them how to do it. So telecommunicator CPR is the second part of this. Additionally, police officers in the Anchorage area carry AEDs, and we've had numerous instances where the police officers who are mobile and can respond very quickly arrive at the patient's side, start CPR, and provide life-saving defibrillatory shocks with AEDs. The next step in the chain of survival is that our trained rescuers, EMTs, and paramedics from Anchorage Fire Department arrive and provide more advanced life-saving care for the patients. Once they resuscitate the patient, they then stabilize the patient and bring them to one of our local hospitals. Our local hospitals provide outstanding post-resuscitation care. They provide interventions that take care of the problem that caused this cardiac arrest in the first place, help with rehab thereafter, and patients are then discharged into the community. So overall, we're very, very proud, very happy, very gratified to be part of this system through which the chain of survival helps us once again demonstrate that it takes a community to save a life. Thank you. Chief?
Thank you, Dr. Lovey. We are not resting on our laurels here. We're very proud of the accomplishment that we're able to produce for our community, but we also think that we can continue to do better. And so this is a call to action for members of our community. A call to action, as Dr. Lovey described, to learn to recognize when an emergency exists and to take that first step of calling 911. We want people to learn hands-only CPR so that, and be willing to do hands-only CPR so that when somebody does experience a sudden cardiac arrest, that we can begin life-sustaining treatment while waiting for EMS to arrive. We would like people to download the AED, we would like people to download the PulsePoint crowdsourcing app. The PulsePoint app is a free app that our residents can get onto their phones and to be notified of a cardiac arrest in their vicinity. In addition, the PulsePoint app will notify users of the nearest AED. Users of the app can also be informed about other emergencies in the community, such as a wildfire or an explosion, or things that may require them to take action. And we would like people to join us in helping to convince policymakers of the need for CPR training broadly applied, including in the Anchorage School District schools. And we think that by closing the gap in the chain of survival in this way, we can produce even greater improvements in our cardiac arrest survival rate over time. So thank you. I think we're free to take any questions. Yeah, of course. Yep. Okay, that's all the time we have today, folks. No more questions.